We turn into the letter that Paul wrote to his friends in the church at Colossae. So we pick up in this first chapter with verses 15 to 23. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For in him all things in heaven and on earth were created, things visible and invisible. Whether thrones or dominions or rulers or powers, all things have been created through him and for him. He himself is before all things, and in him all things hold together. He is the head of the body of the church. He is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, so that he might come to have first place in everything. For in him all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell, and through him God was pleased to reconcile to himself all things, whether on earth or in heaven, by making peace through the blood of his cross. And you were once estranged and hostile in mind and doing evil deeds. He is now reconciled in his fleshly body through death, so as to present you holy and blameless and irreproachable before him, provided that you continue securely established and steadfast in the faith, without shifting from the hope promised by the gospel that you heard, which has been proclaimed to every creature under heaven. I, Paul, became a servant of this gospel. You should see what I saw. Years ago, I moved to a community where a man had a carpenter shop. His name was Victor. You should see what I saw was the sign over the door of his shop. It was a clever play on words, calling attention to his work with hammer and saw. As a matter of fact, Victor's shop was the former congregational church building of my new parish. Victor planned to convert the old church into apartments. The basement of the church would serve as the carpenter shop until the rest of the building was made into apartments. It saved lots of time having the shop right underneath where all the work was happening. Victor made good progress with the apartments until he began to have health problems. He had to pause from his work, a pause, unfortunately, from which he never recovered. For several years, the carpenter shop went unattended. We all thought of Victor when we drove by his shop and read the sign. You should see what I saw. Today's story is all about you should see what I saw. Paul writes to the Colossians about the invisible God become visible in Jesus Christ. Paul wants to tell them what he saw in Jesus. Paul's message is the love of God can be seen, and this makes all the difference. First, we take a look at the discovery of invisible things. Germs used to be invisible to us. When Jesus was doing all his healing, the rest of the world did not know about bacteria and viruses. Nobody could see them. So everyone blamed the negative effects of bacteria and viruses on curses and spirits. But then in 1590, Zacharias Jansen took two pieces of glass and passed them by each other. He found that when he turned them one way, it made small things look large. When he turned them another way, they made far away things look close up. Mr. Jansen was discovering the microscope, and would lead to the discovery of microscopic things. A few years later, Anthony von Leeuwenhoek discovered the first microorganisms in 1676. Prior to that, no one knew why yeast made bread rise. They were guessing at what made milk sour. They had no idea what was causing colds and flu. Once they began to see the bacteria and viruses, they began to figure out what was causing the infections. This allowed them to discover ways to combat these things. What was once invisible was made visible. Over time, we were able to go even smaller with electron microscopes. These things helped us figure out the electrons, protons, and neutrons. We could see their electric signals on the scope. We began to understand metals, crystals, liquids, gases better. Can we go smaller than that? Beyond the electrons, the protons, electrons? Somewhere there might be discovered the God particle. Nuclear scientists wonder if there is a God particle. It is still a mystery. We may never know the answer until we all get to heaven. The most important discovery to make is that love is the invisible thing that makes all the difference. We make a lot of decisions based on something we cannot see. We cannot see love, yet we make all kinds of decisions based on love. We love our spouses. We love our children. We love our Cardinals at the high school. We love our Huskers in Lincoln. Did you know how love made all the difference in the life of a young Ulysses Simpson Grant? In the 1840s, long before he was president, young Grant was courting a young lady named Julia Dent. As a part of courtship, they would go on carriage rides. It so happened one Sunday afternoon, Grant and Miss Dent took a carriage ride after a heavy rain. They found the road took them to a creek swollen with floodwater. The only way across was a flimsy wooden bridge. Julia was tensing up. Grant said, "Don't be frightened. I'll look after you." "Well," said Julia, "I shall cling tightly to you whatever happens." She held tightly onto Grant's arm with both hands until they were safely across. Grant drove on in silence a few minutes. He was thinking. Then he spoke up. "Julia, you said back there that you would cling to me whatever happened. Would you like to cling to me for the rest of our lives?" They were married in August 1848. Neither one could see the love they felt for each other, but Grant showed his love taking her safely across the flood. She could see the visible effects of his love for her. She clung to him tightly and returned his love. Their love was made visible. Paul tells the Colossian church, Jesus made God's invisible love visible. When Jesus went to the cross, love became visible. When Jesus walked out of the tomb, God's love became eternally visible. This became the disciples' message. We saw Jesus and we saw God. We could put a sign over the carpenter shop in Nazareth. You should see what I saw. Yes, you should see what I saw. Amen.